When I was younger, my idea of a good work day was about 16 hours a day. I'd work all day nonstop, sleep, and then repeat the next day. Sometimes going days, almost weeks without leaving the house. Just get delivery and keep grinding. Then I met one of the wealthiest men on the planet, and he ended up becoming my mentor. And what he taught me about work and how to have a productive day completely shattered the way I think about work and ultimately led me to becoming a successful entrepreneur. If you're new here, my name is Micaiah. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've built a handful of successful businesses, and I make videos just like this to help entrepreneurs like you get ahead. So the thing you need to understand about productivity, hustle culture, and how to actually get things done is wealthy people do not get wealthy by doing a lot of things. They get wealthy by doing a few things really well. And as an entrepreneur, this is critically important to understand if you're going to succeed. You see, any given day, there could be 100 things for you to do. And it's not your job to do all 100 things. Your job as an entrepreneur is to identify a few things that are critical to the success of the mission. Relentlessly focus on those things and then either delegate or eliminate the other things off your to-do list. And at first, this can feel weird, especially if you're coming from a corporate environment. Corporate environments are known for having hours and hours of endless busy work that make you feel like you're being productive, but you're not actually getting things done. But as an entrepreneur now, it's all on your shoulders, which means you have to be willing to do what I call letting plates drop. And it's a bit of a metaphor. Imagine, these sticks with spinning plates on them, and you're trying to spin each plate to keep them balanced. Now you can only spin so many plates. You have two hands. So if there's 10 plates, you kind of switch between plates. The way to fail in this is to try to keep all 10 plates spinning. Naturally, over time, they'll all drop and you'll be left with a couple. The risk is, what if those couple plates that are left spinning are not the most important plates? Now, dragging this metaphor out, what you need to do is actually just choose, okay, which plates am I going to let drop and which plates am I going to focus on? Now, this again is painful because it means that plates are going to drop, things are going to fall through the cracks in your startup. That's okay. The way to become successful and ultimately wealthy is to focus on just getting a few things right and ignoring the rest. And the way to get all this straight and to know which plates are worth dropping and which are not is to have long-term goals. If you know where you're trying to get to, you can just do the things that matter and ignore the rest. This is one of the things that wealthy people understand and do consistently, and poor people do not. They try to do everything just okay, and that's why they're not successful. The second thing he taught me was to schedule in important breaks. And in fact, when I would meet up with this mentor every time, we'd usually go to the gym. We'd work out, we'd hang out, and just talk about what's going on. It wasn't like we were, in a conference room working out plans and sketching out ideas. He did this on purpose to show me that we need to take breaks from our work. And in fact, he recommended every day schedule in important breaks. And this is a practice that I now do for myself. I will schedule in coffee for myself. I'll schedule in going to the gym. I'll schedule in dinner with my wife. I'll schedule in hobbies like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai. I will make sure that these aren't just things that I try to squeeze in when I'm, able to or not busy. I make these part of my job to go to these breaks. By scheduling these in as if it's part of my work, what I'm actually doing is forcing myself to go to these things so that the work that I do when I'm not at these breaks will be more productive. As an entrepreneur, it's not about the total volume of output that you produce, it's about the quality of output that you produce. And the third and probably the most important lesson he taught me was to understand what phase of work are you in. There are two phases that matter. Broadly speaking, it's a quantity phase or a quality phase. Now, quantity phase is like it sounds, it's all about the volume and output. Quantity work might be like making sales calls. If you only do 3 sales calls, you're unlikely to get that many sales. In that case, you need to be doing, 50, 80 sales calls a week. Same thing for cold emailing, or, when I talk about meeting with investors, that's 10 to 20 meetings per week. There are certain tasks that require a sheer number of outputs to be successful. And the more you ramp up the outputs, i.e. the quantity, the more successful those tasks will be. However, as a founder and entrepreneur, most of the work you should be doing is what I would consider quality work. Quality work is work where the only thing that matters is the quality of the output, i.e. the effect it has on the business by working on that output. So a few examples of quality work might be like, rather than doing sales calls, what about building a sales call script or building a cold email script? If you're going to use that same cold call script for 1,000 cold calls, spending an extra hour or two to get it perfect is better than just having a crappy script that you use over and over and over and don't see results. Other things like building a system to hire people, doing reference checks for key employees, these are things where it's not about the quantity of work that you do, it's the quality of work. And the way that you approach quantity tasks and quality tasks is different. Quantity tasks, you don't need to be in the right mindset necessarily. If I need to make 50 sales sales calls, the best way to get myself in a mood to do that is to just start calling. Do 5 calls and 10 calls and 20 calls, and you'll build momentum in the task. Now, if I'm doing a quality task, it's different. I can't just jump into a quality task in a bad state of mind because my output will be low quality. In that case, when I'm approaching a quality task, I want to first take a step back and say, what can I do to give myself the perfect working environment, the perfect mentality to make this task successful? And that might mean going for a walk to clear my head, getting a nice coffee, meditating, whatever I need to do to make sure that the work and the output that I do is the absolute best it can be. What most people screw up is they approach all tasks and everything on their to-do list as a quantity task, and this doesn't work for quality tasks. So by distinguishing which type of task you're approaching, you can make sure you get the right output and the right success you're looking for. Now, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to figure out how to get your startup to the next level, I just filmed this awesome video on how I raised $5.4 million in just 3 weeks. I break down the exact steps, the techniques I used, the mentality and psychology to get investors to write multi-million-dollar checks after just a few meetings. I'm going to put the link over here, so why don't you go ahead and click that video, and I'll see you there.